Hello folks, hope you are having a good couple of days. I am currently still recording these in work because I've been very busy and I thought I'd have more time today, but obviously not, as we head on towards exam season and we're marking a lot of essays, let's put it that way. Anyway, let's jump into Hobby Nightmares, shall we? If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below if you want to help the channel grow, and also if you want to buy me a pint over the weekend, Patreon is also down below. Won't be a super long one today, but, you know, I thought it's better to upload something so you've got something to help you through your week rather than leave you with nothing. So, Duke Leto says, "Hello North, and greetings my fellow Hobby Nightmare enthusiasts. It's been a couple of years since I've submitted a story. My last Hobby Nightmare was all about the stuff I received from playing one-page rules at my local gaming store. It didn't go down very well. Check out your July 18th, 2022 episode. Oh, wow, you've actually linked an episode. I like it. Okay. I'd like to think I played a small part in sparking your interest in grim dark future back then. Cheers to free, fun, and fast rules." Yes, you did. It may have been around then, I'm not sure, but yeah, you definitely did. Anyway, this latest story is not a single event, rather a nightmare spanning several years, and involves some rather personal stuff that I'd otherwise be too embarrassed to tell. About the time of my last submission to you, I had fallen into a serious depression regarding the state of my marriage. I've been with my wife for over 20 years, and we have an otherwise picture-perfect life that I'm very grateful for. Nonetheless, I had become extremely disheartened with her lack of desire for me and overall aversion to any sort of intimacy. I feel this is a problem that many middle-aged men face but will rarely admit. I gradually spun deeper and deeper into a victimhood state of mind where all I could do was resentment and anger towards her. This went on for years, and I ended up filling the void in my heart with wargaming, which is the one passion in my life that brings me both peace and excitement. Between all the crafting, world building, and painting of miniatures, this acted like an escape from reality and the growing spiral that was my marriage. As a result, I had sequestered myself to my hobby room rather than step up and fix the relationship. By ignoring my wife out of the spite I felt, I was engaging in a sort of emotional, I'm not going to say that word, but yeah, emotional combativeness, shall we say, with her. I thought, if she's going to withhold physical touch from me, I'll just withhold talking altogether with her. And boy, was that silly of me. At the height of all this, we had an argument about something mundane, and then I then seriously considered just throwing all my models, terrain, and hobby gear into the garbage. Looking back, I don't know what this childish act would have accomplished, other than making a big splash and escalating the situation even further. Luckily, I'm happy to say that our relationship did not result in divorce. About 8 months ago, I found the help I needed with a hard-hitting, men's-only online coaching program. I find this significant, North, because I distinctly remember listening to one of your videos where you made it very clear point to always get help from a man if you are indeed a man. I had wasted many months seeking help from 2 different female psychologists, thinking they could help me understand women better, and boy, that was a complete waste of time. I agree. Listen, women have a lot of amazing contributions to make to the world. Some of my favourite people in the world are women. But in terms of actually getting emotional support from a man, again, and I wouldn't offer this support to a woman. Do you know what I mean? Because I have no idea what your hormonal makeup is. I have no idea of the strains and stresses that are placed on your life. I try to understand them, but at the end of the day, I'm not a woman, so I can't. Right? I can't empathize as much as I'd like to, because that's not me. That's not who I am. But I'm definitely with you in terms of, you know, if you're going to get any sort of help like this, it needs to be from a fellow man. It needs to be from somebody who's going through what you're going through. I mean, the very anger to what you're going through is different between males and females, right? So, the lack of physical touch, well, to a female, she may feel ugly or fat or like that kind of a thing, or she may just be okay with it. Whereas a man, no physical intimacy means that you've got all sorts of things going through your head. Is she with somebody else? Am I not man enough for her anymore? You start to really self-evaluate in a negative way that and in a toxic way that I've not really heard many women talk about. So it isn't really important that you do go to another man when you need this kind of hard-hitting talk. Anyway, it was only after I stopped being a victim and acted like my own man did things start to turn around. I started working out a lot. I confided in my men's group. I held my head high with masculine presence whenever I walked into a room. I stopped taking offense to little things my wife said. I stopped treating her like my psychologist and instead just listened intently to her. And most of all, I stopped being a needy little boy looking for validation from mommy. I began to be so much more confident, pushing my edge with her, and thankfully now our intimacy and my mental health is so much better. I went from fearing that she'd say when I scheduled a game night with the boys to scheduling the game and then still getting to have intimacy. Right, okay. I'm going to read that again. I went from fearing what she'd say when I scheduled a game night with the boys to scheduling the game and then still getting my intimacy. As a middle-aged man with 3 kids and a busy career, my hope is that some of your listeners might relate to this story and seek help. I highly recommend starting with the book No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover. Not read that one. Anyway, North, thanks for all you do. You're like the gaming friend I never had. Alright, cheers, man. Thank you. You're spot on. We're a lovely guy. And I agree. I don't know anything about that book, so I can't recommend it or not recommend it. But in terms of what you're speaking about here, what you've done essentially is you've become a respectable man in her eyes, right? You've turned around your life and you've turned all of your rage into positivity and then turned that inward and said, right, I'm going to lash this body in the gym. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get myself sorted out. I'm going to talk to other men in my peer groups and in any way that I can to get my advice and to surround myself with men who know more than me. I'm going to try and make myself a better man. Once you do that, it's like a sixth sense that women have, for desperation and things like that. Well, that sixth sense also covers good things. So if you're a man and you're with a woman who you're either with or you're not with, it works either way, and you want them to notice you, just start bettering yourself. If you start bettering yourself and walking into a room with your head held high, because you're bettering yourself, you're losing £1 a month or something, do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. As long as you're trending positively, women respond to that. They can sense it, right? Mainly because that's what you're giving off into the world. So well done to you, man. Well done to you. Matt says, Hi North. I know you have several hobby nightmares, and all of us avid viewers enjoy a yarn about the time they played against the aforementioned Dave of a local hobby group. Well, I want to introduce you to the Chad, an anti-Dave if you will. I was beginning to come back into the hobby after a long break after 3rd edition, where I left to go to university, storing my models in the loft of my parents' house. That's fair enough. Nothing wrong with that. Cut to my return to the hobby around 2009. I joined the local hobby group and dusted off my old miniatures, and added the 5th edition 40k boxed set, a brilliant Assault on Black Reach set. I could not wait to unwrap the package, and took little time assembling and painting both armies. Unfortunately, I lost the pictures of them when my last phone broke. I played them with what little terrain I had, ready for my first true game with an old school friend at a local hobby group. He is the anti-Dave, a true Chad of a man, and helped me shake off my game lust, added thematic moments with the help of a dialogue he added to his army during key engagements, and encouraged certain tactical movements to make. It was a close fought thing, but alas, my Space Marines failed to carry the day. Regardless, I was truly hooked back into the hobby. Okay, before I go anywhere else, it seems to me that you're partaking in the hobby in a way that it used to be. So, in terms of being, shall we say, a game and a competitive game, it never used to be like that. You used to have two separate armies, and you would tell a story on the tabletop of what's happening between those armies. And the original 40k rulebooks all spoke about the hobby like that. They said, no, this is what you should be telling a story between two armies on the tabletop, because this is a game or a set of games that used to have a referee back in the day, like a DM, like a dungeon master back in the day. So the original war games all had umpires or referees, and both players were essentially taking the roles of the generals of that battle, of that campaign. But you weren't really there to win. You were there to try and win for your side, sure, but you're more there to see what happens when these two forces clash on the tabletop. That's what you were there for. You weren't really there to see who won or to see anything like that. You were trying to win because you were role-playing as that general. And that's generally where wargaming started. So what you're doing with your friend here and your opponent in those days would quite often suggest things for you to do tactically, you know? Because if you were taking, say, Napoleon, you know, and you were playing quite defensively, your friend might say, hey, man, you've got really good attacking units on that left-hand side there in the old guard. Why don't you move them up? Because if you move them up, it'll be, one, you'd be role-playing Napoleon really well, but also, that's what he would do with the old guard, you know what I mean? He would send them in last and get him in to win the battle for him. And you'd say something like, do you know what, that's a good idea, I'm going to do that, right? You're not getting your hackles up, you're not getting annoyed, because this is a collaborative process that you're going through in deciding how this battle is going to play out. That's the spirit that 40k used to be in. These days it's not. These days it's very competitive, but the reason why you're having such a good time is because you're quite well ingrained in that part of what the hobby's supposed to look like. Anyway, I know I mentioned it before, but if my voice sounds a bit weird, I'm currently in my office. So the 2 videos this week, I'm afraid I'm going to have to be in my office because this is where we are. Anyway, I asked Auntie Dave what the community was like for 40k, and his face turned dour, and with a low voice shared the sorry state of the community. There were less than 4 players in the local area, after some truly toxic players had come and gone over the last 2 years, driving out most casuals from the gaming space. He enjoyed our game and asked if I could help encourage new players into the hobby. I had experience in recruitment due to time engaging with my local martial arts group in my teens, and began a campaign of speaking to those in the hobby group initially. Lo and behold, a lot of them were ex-40k players. I encouraged them to dust off their old armies and proceeded to begin a series of reintroductionary games with my new friend, Auntie Dave. It took time, but we eventually recruited more players into the group, which at the time I moved out of the area, numbered in the double figures on a bad day, all playing and actively engaging with the hobby once again. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, the reason why he's using the phrase Auntie Dave here is because back in the day, our first few really big nightmares of people were all called Dave for some reason. I don't know why. I think I used one. I used Dave as like an anonymous name for somebody in one hobby nightmare, in one of my own hobby nightmares, and then other people started getting on the bandwagon. I'm not sure. There we are. Each game I ensured to develop missions using the rulebook templates and encouraging a narrative approach, building stories around each game. Of all the games I had, only one did not go well, but that is a story for another time. I still hold to the mantra that regardless of if you win, lose or draw, a game of 40k is simply that, a game. There is no need to be toxic to complain about the state of the meta or what list is currently the hottest. Lay the rules for the day at the start, preferably beforehand, so everybody is involved in singing from the same hymn sheet. My take on the hobby is to have fun and engage with like-minded individuals, and I have always encouraged such attitudes. I may not get as many games as I would like nowadays with a young family, demanding job shifts, and interests outside of the game itself, but I still aim for 1 game per month. The hobby group is still going strong, having recently moved location and maintaining a healthy throughput of hobbyists. I hope to show my face there soon enough, and maybe perhaps get a game of 40k in with some of the old guard from way back when during the heyday of 5th and 6th edition. I hope this goes to show how a positive mindset, coupled with the right level of support, can help reinvigorate a community and bring new life and new players into a hobby. Some may consider the format to be floundering recently, but by focusing on what works, adapting and encouraging similar attitudes, everyone can still have a good time. Unfortunately, Auntie Dave is no longer with us. He is deeply missed by all who remember him, and is fondly remembered. Keep doing what you're doing, and I hope this story shines as a light in the nightmare darkness. Best wishes, Matt. Well, it does, and I'm very sorry that we lost Auntie Dave. That's not nice, but in terms of the hobby, yeah, I mean, you've done exactly what I've been saying all along, is that you need to curate and create your own hobby space. It's not easy, it's not easy, and not for everybody, especially if you're not that much of an outgoing person. But if you can just get one guy like an Auntie Dave here, a Chad like this, who wants to come in and transform where you are, you can have anything. I've known a few guys who've worked in Games Workshop stores and in hobby stores who have been really run down by the competitive side of the hobby to the point where they need someone to come in and help them out. I was one of those people, and it was customers coming in and showing me how to play in a more casual way that got me to enjoy the hobby again, even as the walls of my world were crashing down around me at the time. Do you know what I mean? Which shows you what a good force the hobby can be. But that is me for today. I love you all long time, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. I will speak to you soon for some more Hobby Nightmares. Please make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that fun stuff, and please be safe for me, alright? I know things may not go well sometimes, but just remember, you'll always have Hobby Nightmares here to get you through your week, alright? Alright, love you all long time, speak to you soon, and I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye now.